The cantina smelled like burned metal and regret. Marcus Cole sat alone in the corner, his massive frame hunched over a glass of synthetic whiskey. The drink tasted like cleaning fluid, but it was cheap, and cheap was all he could afford these days. Around him, dozens of alien species talked, argued, and made deals. Waystation Krona 7 was that kind of place. It floated at the edge of nowhere, a giant spinning wheel of rust and desperation where anyone could disappear if they wanted to. Marcus had wanted to disappear for 3 years now. He was huge by galactic standards. Nearly 2 meters tall, with shoulders like a cargo loader and hands that could crush most species' skulls without trying. On Earth, he had been considered average. Out here, among the smaller beings of the galaxy, he was a monster. A giant, something to fear. Most aliens gave him a wide space. That suited Marcus fine. He lifted his glass and noticed 2 small figures approaching his table. They moved carefully through the crowd, their bodies glowing with soft light. Marcus recognized the species immediately. Chthoni. Small, delicate beings with skin like living glass. Their bodies produce natural light that changed color with their emotions. Right now, they glowed a deep, desperate violet. The 2 Chthoni stopped at his table. They barely reached his chest, even though he was sitting down. Twins, Marcus realized. Their features were nearly identical. The one stood slightly in front, protective. The other hung back, watching everything with quick, nervous eyes. "Human," the first one said. Her voice was soft, musical. "You are Marcus Cole?" Marcus took another drink. "Depends on who's asking." "I am Lyra. This is my brother Vex. We need help." "Everyone needs help. Buy a ticket to the council station. File a complaint. Leave me alone." The twins exchanged a look. The purple in their skin grew darker, almost black. That color meant fear. Deep, terrible fear. "The council will not help us," Lyra said. "No one will help us. You are our last hope." Marcus laughed. It was not a kind sound. "Kid, look at me. I'm a washed-up cargo hauler with a ship that's held together by tape and prayers. I'm nobody's help. Please." Vex spoke for the first time. His voice cracked. "They have our parents. They have everyone." Something in the boy's voice made Marcus pause. He looked at the twins more carefully. They were young. Very young. Children, really, by Chthoni standards. And they were terrified. Against his better judgment, Marcus gestured to the empty seats. "Sit down, talk." The story came out in broken pieces. The twins spoke over each other, correcting details, filling gaps. Marcus listened as the picture became clear. Their home was a small colony on Chthon Prime. 200 Chthoni lived there, farming the glowing plants that only grew on their world. It was a peaceful place, quiet, the kind of place where nothing ever happened. Then, the Dominion Syndicate came. Marcus knew the Syndicate. Everyone did. They were corporate slavers who wore expensive suits and spoke politely while they destroyed entire civilizations. They had discovered that Chthoni bioluminescent compounds were valuable. Very valuable. The chemicals in their blood could be harvested and sold for massive profits. So the Syndicate had blockaded Chthon Prime. 3 heavy cruisers and a dozen support ships surrounded the tiny world. No one could leave. No one could enter. The colonists were trapped, waiting to be processed. "Processed," Marcus repeated. His voice was flat. "They will take us to their factories," Lyra said. "They will drain the light from our bodies until we die. Then they will harvest more. Our species will become livestock." Vex's hands were shaking. "We escaped before the blockade closed. A small shuttle. Our parents put us on it and told us to find help. We have been searching for 2 months. What about the Galactic Council? They say it is a corporate matter. They cannot interfere. Mercenaries? We have nothing to pay them. The Kethani are poor. We have only our light, and that is what they want to take from us. Marcus stared at his empty glass. This was not his problem. He had spent 3 years running from other people's problems. He had learned the hard way what happened when you tried to be a hero. Heroes died. Heroes got the people they loved killed. Heroes were fools. "I'm sorry," he said. "I can't help you." The words felt like stones in his mouth. The twins stared at him, and for a moment, their light flickered. The violet faded to something pale and hopeless. Gray, the color of surrender. Lyra stood first. She took her brother's hand and turned to leave. But at the edge of the table, she stopped. She looked back at Marcus with eyes that had seen too much for someone so young. "We were told stories about humans," she said quietly. "When we were small, our grandmother would tell us about the giant beings from Earth. She said that humans were strange creatures. She said that you were violent and loud and terrifying. But she also said that long ago, humans protected the weak. That you would fight for strangers. That you would stand between the helpless and those who would harm them." She paused. The gray in her skin flickered with something else. One last spark of desperate hope. Was that just a story? Marcus did not answer. He watched the twins walk away, disappearing into the crowd of the cantina. He sat alone at his table, surrounded by the noise of 100 alien conversations, and felt something he had not felt in 3 years. It started in his chest. A tightness, a weight, like a door that had been locked for too long was slowly creaking open. He thought about his grandmother. She had been a small woman, barely reaching his shoulder even when he was a teenager. But she had raised him after his parents died. She had taught him what it meant to be human. "We don't look away," she used to say. "When someone needs help, we don't look away. That's what separates us from the darkness." Marcus had looked away. For 3 years, he had been looking away. It was easier, safer. It meant he could sleep at night without the screaming in his dreams. But tonight, he knew he would see those twins. He would see their gray, hopeless light. He would hear Lyra's question echoing in his mind. Was that just a story? Marcus stood up. His chair scraped against the metal floor, loud enough to make nearby aliens jump. He threw credits on the table and walked toward the exit. He had a lot of calls to make. Marcus found the twins in a cargo bay near the station's lower levels. They had made a small camp between shipping containers, using emergency blankets as beds and eating protein paste from stolen packets. When they saw him, they scrambled to their feet, their skin flashing with surprise. "You came back," Lyra said. "I need information," Marcus replied. "Everything you know about the blockade. Ship positions, patrol schedules, colony layout. Everything." Vex's light shifted to bright yellow. "Hope, you will help us?" "I'm going to try. But I can't do this alone. I need to make some calls first." He led the twins to his ship, the Wandering Star. It was not impressive. The hull was patched with mismatched metal plates. The engines made sounds that worried even experienced mechanics. But it flew, and right now, that was enough. Marcus sat at the communication console and began typing coordinates. The first message went to a station 3 systems away. The second went to a mining asteroid near the outer rim. The third, fourth, and fifth scattered across the galaxy like seeds thrown into dark soil. Then he waited. The first response came 6 hours later. "Marcus Cole, you old bastard." The voice crackled through the speakers, rough and warm. "I thought you were dead." "Not yet, Elena. I need your help." Elena Vasquez had been the best tactical officer in Earth's fleet. Then she had refused an order to bomb a civilian hospital, and her career had ended. She lived in exile now, teaching navigation to merchant crews and drinking too much. What kind of trouble? she asked. Marcus told her. About the twins. About the syndicate. About 200 innocent people waiting to be harvested. There was a long silence. Then Elena laughed. You're insane. One ship against a syndicate blockade? I know. We'll be slaughtered. Probably. Another pause. When Elena spoke again, her voice had changed. Harder. More focused. Send me the coordinates. I'll be there in 3 days. The second response came from Kofi Mensah. He ran a free medical clinic on mining station Delta 7, treating workers who could not afford real doctors. He was a combat medic who had seen too much war and decided to spend the rest of his life healing instead of hurting. Children? He asked when Marcus finished explaining. They're hunting children? They're hunting everyone. But yes, there are children in that colony. I'm in. What do you need? Medical supplies. As much as you can carry. And your skills. We might need to extract wounded. Kofi's response was simple. I'll be there. The Yamamoto siblings responded together. Hana and Kenji were engineers who could make any machine work. They had built racing ships that broke speed records. They had modified cargo haulers that outran military vessels. They treated technology like art and impossibility like a personal insult. The Wandering Star? Hana said when she saw the ship's specifications. You want us to help you fight a blockade in this thing? Can you make it work? The siblings looked at each other. Kenji cracked his knuckles. Hana smiled. We can make it sing. The last response came from old Doc Harrison. Nobody knew his first name. Nobody knew exactly how old he was. He claimed to have been a xenobiologist for Earth's first contact teams, but that would make him over 100 years old. He knew more about alien species than anyone Marcus had ever met, and he never explained why. The Cathany, Doc said thoughtfully. Beautiful people. Their biochemistry is fascinating. The Syndicate wants their luminescent compounds, you say? They want to drain them dry. Barbaric. Doc's voice turned cold. I'll come, and I'll bring some things that might help even the odds. He did not explain what those things were. Marcus decided not to ask. 3 days later, they gathered aboard the Wandering Star. The ship's common room was cramped with 6 humans, but nobody complained. They sat around a scratched metal table while the twins watched from the doorway, their skin shifting through colors of amazement. They had never seen this many humans before. The giants filled the small space with their loud voices and large gestures. They argued and laughed and slapped each other's backs, hard enough to bruise smaller species. They ate food with strong smells and drank bitter drinks and talked over each other without anger. It was terrifying. It was wonderful. Vex worked up the courage to approach Marcus during a quiet moment. Why? He asked. Why are they here? We cannot pay them. We have nothing to offer. Marcus looked at his crew. Elena was drawing tactical diagrams on a screen while Kofi organized medical supplies. The Yamamotos had already disappeared into the engine room, their excited voices echoing through the vents. Doc sat in a corner, reading files about syndicate biology with an expression that promised nothing good for their enemies. You don't understand humans, Marcus said finally. We're not like other species. We're not logical. We don't always act in our own interest. And why do you act? Marcus thought about it. How do you explain something that you feel in your bones? How do you describe an instinct that predates civilization? Because you asked, he said. Because you were small and scared and you asked for help. And somewhere deep in every human, there's a voice that says we should answer. It doesn't make sense. It's probably stupid, but it's who we are. Vex's skin glowed with a color Marcus had not seen before. Warm gold mixed with soft pink. It was beautiful. What does that color mean? Marcus asked. Vex looked down at his own glowing hands. I do not know the human word. It is when you believe in something you thought was only a legend. When a story becomes real. Marcus put his hand on the boy's shoulder. Gently. He was always careful about his strength around smaller beings. "We're going to get your family back," he said. "I promise." It was a dangerous promise. Marcus knew that. He had made promises before that he could not keep, and people had died. But looking at this small, glowing child who had traveled across the galaxy on nothing but hope, Marcus knew he would keep this one or die trying Dot in the engine room. Hana's voice echoed through the ship. "Marcus, get down here. You need to see what we're doing to your ship." He went to see, and for the first time in 3 years, Marcus Cole allowed himself to hope. The journey to Kethan Prime would take 5 days. They used every hour. Elena spread tactical data across the main screen, showing the Syndicate blockade in glowing detail. 3 heavy cruisers formed a triangle around the planet. 12 smaller support ships patrolled the gaps. Weapon platforms drifted in high orbit. It was a fortress of metal and murder, designed to trap an entire world. "This is what we're facing," Elena said. "The flagship is the Profit Margin." Yes, that's really its name. The Syndicate has no shame. It carries enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The other 2 cruisers, Asset Recovery and Quarterly Growth, are slightly smaller but still deadly. "What about weaknesses?" Marcus asked. "Their biggest weakness is arrogance. Look at the formation. They're positioned to prevent escape, not to defend against attack. Every gun points inward, toward the planet. They never expected anyone to be stupid enough to attack them." Kofi raised his hand. "We're that stupid?" "We're that stupid," Marcus confirmed. The plan came together over the next 2 days. It was not a good plan. It relied on luck, timing, and the Syndicate's inability to understand human psychology. But it was the only plan they had. The Yamamotos had worked miracles with the ship. They modified the Wandering Star's energy signature to mimic a Syndicate supply vessel. From a distance, and with some luck, they might slip through the blockade undetected. "The disguise will not hold under close inspection," Kenji warned. "If they scan us directly, they will know." "Then we don't let them scan us directly," Elena said. "We approach during shift change, when attention is lowest. We broadcast Syndicate identification codes on a slight delay. By the time they realize something is wrong, we'll already be in the atmosphere." The second phase involved Doc Harrison and Kofi. Once the ship was on the ground, they would locate the colonists and prepare them for extraction. Doc had studied Kethni biology extensively. He knew where their settlements would be, how they would hide, and what medical challenges the captives might face. "The Syndicate will have already begun processing some of them," Doc said quietly. "We need to be prepared for what we find." Nobody asked what that meant. Nobody wanted to know. The third phase was the most dangerous. Marcus and Elena would create a distraction so massive that the Syndicate would forget about everything else. They would draw attention away from the evacuation, giving Kofi and Doc time to get the colonists to safety. "What kind of distraction?" Hannah asked Marcus, and Elena exchanged a look. Neither of them smiled. "The kind that makes them very, very angry," Marcus said. On the 3rd day, Lyra approached Elena with a request. "I want to help." Elena looked up from her tactical displays. The Kethni girl stood straight, her skin glowing with determined orange. Beside her, Vex nodded in agreement. "No," Elena said. "Absolutely not. This is too dangerous." "We know the colony," Lyra pressed. "We know every tunnel, every hiding place, every secret path. Our people have lived there for generations. You cannot navigate it without us." "She's right," Doc said from his corner. "Kethni settlements are designed like mazes. Their bioluminescence creates false paths and illusions. Without a guide, we could wander for hours." Elena looked at Marcus. He was studying the twins with an expression she recognized. He was thinking about the soldiers he had led in the past. The young ones. The ones who insisted on fighting even when they were afraid. "You understand what we're walking into," Marcus said to the twins. "People will die. Maybe us. Maybe people you love. This is not an adventure. This is war." Lyra's light flickered but did not fade. "They are already dying. Every day we wait, the Syndicate takes more of us, drains more of our light. We did not cross the galaxy to hide while others fight for our family." Vex stepped forward. "I have been studying human tactics, human history. I watched recordings of your wars. You are terrifying creatures, but you are also brave beyond reason. I want to be brave like you." The room fell silent. Marcus looked at these two small, glowing children who had lost everything and still refused to give up. He thought about what it meant to be human, about the stories that shaped them, about the moments when ordinary people became something more. "Fine," he said, "but you follow orders. No heroics. If I tell you to run, you run. Understood?" The twins nodded eagerly. Their colors shifted to brilliant gold. On the fourth day, they rehearsed the plan until everyone could perform their role in their sleep. Doc distributed small devices to each team member, chemical compounds designed to disrupt Syndicate soldiers without harming Kethany. "Non-lethal?" Kofi asked, examining the device. "For the Kethany," Doc clarified. "For the Syndicate, less so." His smile was not reassuring. On the fifth day, Cathan Prime appeared on the view screen. It was a beautiful world, covered in glowing forests that shimmered like galaxies seen from space. Even from orbit, the bioluminescence of the planet was visible. A world of living light. And around it, the Syndicate blockade waited like a cage of steel and darkness. "There it is," Elena said. "Home of 200 innocent people who are counting on us without knowing we exist." Marcus stood at the helm, his hands steady on the controls. Behind him, his crew was quiet. Humans were usually loud, but in moments like this, they grew still, focused, deadly. "Everyone knows their job," Marcus said. "If something goes wrong, adapt, improvise, survive, and whatever happens, we get those people out. That's the mission. That's all that matters." The Yamamotos activated the signature masking. The wandering star began its approach, disguised as prey walking into the predator's den. "Syndicate patrol vessel on approach," Elena reported. "They're hailing us." Marcus took a deep breath. "Answer them. Let's see if our disguise holds." The screen flickered. A bored Syndicate officer appeared, barely glancing at them. "Supply vessel, transmit cargo manifest and authorization codes." Hana's fingers flew across the console, sending the forged documents. Seconds passed. Each one felt like an hour. "Manifest confirmed," the officer said finally. "Proceed to landing zone 7. Don't dawdle." The processing quota was increased this morning. The screen went dark. Nobody breathed. "We're in," Elena whispered. Marcus pushed the throttle forward. The wandering star descended toward the planet of living light, carrying 6 humans who were about to do something impossible, or die trying. Everything went wrong the moment they entered the atmosphere. Alarms screamed through the ship. Red lights flashed across every console. Elena's voice cut through the chaos. "They scanned us. The disguise is failing. They know." Marcus looked at the tactical display. The Syndicate cruisers were already moving, turning their massive guns toward the descending ship. Smaller patrol vessels broke formation, racing to intercept. "How?" Kenji shouted from engineering. "The signature was perfect." "They upgraded their sensors," Elena said, her fingers flying across the controls. "The information was old. They were waiting for something exactly like this. Marcus made a decision in half a second. A decision so insane that no tactical computer in the galaxy would have suggested it. "Everyone hold on," he said. Then he pushed the engines to maximum and aimed the wandering star directly at the lead cruiser. "What are you doing?" Hana screamed, creating a distraction. The wandering star accelerated toward the profit margin like a bullet aimed at a giant. Syndicate officers on the cruiser stared at their screens in disbelief. No ship attacked a heavy cruiser directly. It was suicide. It was madness, Todd. It was exactly what humans did when pushed into a corner. Marcus opened a broadcast on all channels. His voice echoed across every ship in the blockade, every communication device on the planet below. "This is Marcus Cole of Earth. You have one chance to withdraw from this system. We are coming for those colonists. Anyone who stands in our way will regret it." The Syndicate commander laughed. The sound came through the speakers, cold and cruel. "One ship? One human ship against our fleet? This is not bravery. This is stupidity. Kill them." Weapons fire erupted from every direction. The wandering star shook as shields absorbed hit after hit. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. The smell of burning metal filled the air. "Shields at 60%, Hana reported. 50, 40. Hold course, Marcus said. "We're going to die." Hold course. The profit margin grew larger on the view screen. Its hangar bay was open, loading supplies from a docked transport ship. Marcus aimed for that opening like a needle threading through impossible space dot at the last moment. He killed the engines and fired the maneuvering thrusters. The wandering star screamed through the hangar entrance, crashing into stacked cargo containers and sliding across the metal floor in a shower of sparks. The ship stopped moving. For a moment, everything was silent. "Is everyone alive?" Marcus called. One by one, his crew responded. Bruised, battered, but alive. "The ship is finished," Kenji said quietly. "She'll never fly again." "She doesn't need to fly," Marcus said. "She just needs to be a fortress." Everyone out. Phase 2 begins now. They emerged into chaos. Syndicate soldiers poured into the hangar, weapons drawn. But they were confused, disorganized. Nobody had trained for an enemy ship crashing into their cruiser. It was not in any tactical manual. Humans, however, were very good at chaos. Doc Harrison threw his chemical devices first. Green gas erupted across the hangar, and Syndicate soldiers dropped, choking and clawing at their faces. Kofi moved through them like a ghost, treating wounded crew members who surrendered while disabling those who fought. The Yamamotos had already accessed the cruiser systems. Within minutes, they had disabled internal communications and locked down half the ship's doors. The Syndicate's own technology became a weapon against them. Elena and Marcus fought their way toward the shuttle bay. They needed a transport to reach the surface. Every corridor became a battlefield. Syndicate soldiers attacked in waves, but humans did not stop. They took injuries that would have killed smaller species and kept fighting. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. "Why won't you die?" A Syndicate officer screamed before Marcus knocked him unconscious. "We're stubborn," Marcus replied. On the planet below, the twins led Kofi and Doc through glowing forests. The Kethany settlements were hidden in caves beneath the luminescent trees, designed to confuse outsiders with false paths and illusory lights. "This way," Lyra whispered. "The main settlement is through the Crystal Canyon." They found the colonists huddled in a massive underground chamber. 200 Kethany, their light dimmed with fear and exhaustion. Some of them bore marks of the Syndicate's processing, patches of dull, gray skin where their bioluminescence had been drained. When they saw Vex and Lyra, cries of joy erupted. Families reunited. Parents embraced children they thought they had lost forever. "We don't have much time," Kofi said. "We need to move everyone to the extraction point." The evacuation began. Kofi and Doc organized the colonists into groups, with the strongest helping the weak. The twins led the way, guiding their people through tunnels that no outsider could navigate. Above them, the battle raged. Marcus reached the central hub of the profit margin, where he faced his syndicate commander. His name was Crow, a massive alien with 4 arms and natural armor plating. He stood 3 meters tall, towering over even Marcus. "Human," Crow growled. "You have caused me great inconvenience. Do you know what I'm going to do to your colony friends? I'm going to drain them slowly. I'm going to make them watch each other fade. I'm going to save you for last, so you can see everything you failed to protect." Marcus said nothing. He was tired. He was bleeding from a dozen wounds. His left arm hung uselessly at his side, broken in 2 places, but he was still standing. "You talk too much," Marcus said. Krell attacked. 4 arms swung with enough force to crush starship hull plating. Marcus dodged the first blow, blocked the second, and took the third directly in the chest. He felt ribs crack. Blood filled his mouth. He did not fall. The fight lasted 7 minutes. Later, survivors would tell stories about it. How the human took wounds that should have killed him 10 times over. How he kept getting up no matter how many times he was knocked down. How he fought with broken bones and torn muscles and a smile on his bloody face. In the end, Marcus stood over Krell's unconscious body. The commander was alive, but barely. Marcus leaned close. "Tell your masters what happened here," he whispered. "Tell them that humans remember how to protect people. And if they ever come for the Kethany again, we will find them. We will find every single one of them." He straightened up and touched his communication device. "Elena, status. Colonists are aboard the transport ships. Everyone is accounted for. The twins' parents are safe." Marcus closed his eyes. For a moment, he allowed himself to feel relief. "Then let's go home." 1 month later, Cathan Prime was transformed. The Syndicate had retreated, pulling their remaining ships back to corporate space. They were not defeated, not truly. Corporations like the Syndicate did not die easily. But they were wounded, and more importantly, they were afraid. Word had spread across the galaxy. The story grew larger with each retelling. 6 humans. 1 broken ship. An impossible rescue. Every spacer bar, every trading post, every communication network carried whispers of what had happened. The giants from Earth had answered a call for help. And they had won. Marcus stood on a hillside overlooking the main settlement. His arm was still in a healing cast, and he walked with a limp that the doctor said might never fully fade. But he was alive. They were all alive. Below him, the Kethany colony was rebuilding. The glowing trees had been replanted. Homes were being repaired. Children played in the luminescent meadows, their laughter echoing across the hills. He had forgotten what hope sounded like. Now he remembered. "You're thinking too loud again." Elena walked up beside him. She had a bandage across her forehead and burn marks on her hands, but her eyes were bright. "Just watching," Marcus said. "Watching and brooding." Classic Cole. He smiled. It felt strange on his face, like a muscle he had forgotten how to use. The Yamamotos had salvaged what they could from the Wandering Star's wreckage. It would never fly again, but they had stripped its parts to repair the colonists' own ships. Nothing wasted. That was the human way. Kofi had set up a medical station in the settlement center. He worked tirelessly, treating the colonists who had suffered under syndicate processing. Some would recover fully. Others would carry scars forever. But they were alive, and that mattered. Doc Harrison had disappeared into the forests with a group of Kethany scientists. He was studying their bioluminescence, searching for ways to help those whose light had been drained. For the first time since Marcus had known him, Doc seemed happy. "The ceremony is about to start," Elena said. "The elder wants to speak with you." Marcus walked down the hill toward the central gathering place. The entire colony had assembled there, 200 glowing figures standing beneath a canopy of luminescent trees. The light was beautiful, shifting through colors that Marcus had learned to read. Gold for joy, pink for love, bright orange for hope. The twins stood near the front with their parents. When they saw Marcus, they rushed forward. Vex grabbed his good hand. Lyra touched his arm gently, sending warm light spreading across his skin. "You came," Lyra said. "We were afraid you would leave before the ceremony. I wouldn't miss it." The elder approached. She was ancient, her light dimmed with age but still strong. She moved slowly, supported by younger Cathini, but her voice carried across the entire gathering. "Humans," she said. "When you first came to our world, we did not know what to think. Your species is so different from ours. You are large where we are small, loud where we are quiet. Your bodies do not glow with the light of your souls." She paused, looking at each of the humans in turn. "But we have learned that light comes in many forms. You carried a light we could not see, a light of courage, of sacrifice, of love for strangers." The elder gestured, and a young Cathany brought forward a small container. Inside it was a crystal that pulsed with soft, multicolored light. "This is a heartstone," the elder explained. "It contains the light of every Cathany in this colony. Our joy, our gratitude, our memory. It is the highest gift our people can give. We have given only 3 in our entire history." She held the crystal out to Marcus. "This is yours now. Wherever you go, whatever darkness you face, you will carry our light with you." Marcus took the crystal carefully. It was warm in his hands, alive with gentle energy. He did not know what to say. For 3 years, he had run from connection, from responsibility, from anything that might make him care again. Now he held the light of an entire people, and it felt like coming home. "We asked you why you came," the elder continued. "Why you risked everything for people you had never met. Do you have an answer now?" Marcus looked at the twins, at his crew, at the colonists who had survived against impossible odds. "Because the universe is dark," he said finally, "and someone has to carry a light." The ceremony ended with music and dancing and food that glowed with soft colors. Humans and Cathany celebrated together, 2 species that should have had nothing in common finding joy in each other's company. Later that night, Marcus received a message on his communication device. Then another. Then a dozen more. Word had spread further than he had imagined. Other species, other colonies, other desperate people had heard the story of Kethan Prime, and they were reaching out. A mining station under attack by pirates. A refugee convoy stranded in hostile space. A small world whose water supply was being poisoned by a corporation. They all asked the same question. "Do you know any humans who might help?" Marcus read the messages in silence. He thought about the wandering star, now scattered across Kethan Prime in pieces. He thought about his crew, wounded and tired, but still standing. He thought about everything he had lost and everything he had found. Elena appeared beside him, reading over his shoulder. "More trouble?" "Always more trouble. So what do we do?" Marcus looked at the heartstone in his hand. Its light pulsed gently, warm and alive. "We find a new ship," he said, "and we answer the calls." Elena smiled. "That's the most human thing you've said in years." Somewhere in the galaxy, a small species was suffering. Somewhere, someone helpless was looking up at the stars and wondering if anyone would come. They would come, because that was what humans did. In the years that followed, the legend grew. Across 1,000 worlds and 1,000,000 conversations, Beings of every species told stories about the giants from Earth, the protectors. The ones who answered, they said humans were strange creatures, violent and loud and terrifying, but also brave beyond reason, also kind beyond understanding. They said if you were small and scared and had nowhere else to turn, you should look for a human, because humans would fight for you. They would bleed for you. They would stand between you and the darkness without asking for anything in return. They said humans remembered what it meant to carry a light, and somewhere, on a small ship traveling through the endless black, Marcus Cole and his crew received another message. They changed course. They answered the call. They carried the light.